South Central Federation of Labor was very, very instrumental in this happening. We felt that there were faith and labor people who were working hopefully at joint purposes, like kind of worried about the same issues, but not talking to each other. And so it really was like, let's come together, let's talk, let's see what we can do, and which gave birth to the Interfaith Coalition for Worker Justice of South Central Wisconsin. Becky Schigiel is the new executive director. She worked as an intern, she worked as an organizer for the organization, which is a very small organization, no full-time employees. And, but it really is, and has made a huge difference. For some of you, you may have been at the Capitol, where you heard speakers from the Interfaith Coalition, lead prayers, lead songs. So it really is a wonderful coalition that we have here. And I'm very happy that Becky, who's been on the job 7 weeks now, maybe? It's really close to that. That she is here to speak about the coalition and to tell you a little more and maybe give you hints for stuff that you could do in your area, what might work throughout the state. So here's Becky.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Anne, whom I've known a while now and who I thought liked me, put me between Social Security and Medicare. So the pressure is on to be, I think, hopefully at least more interesting than that. I feel for people at conferences, and I want to say that I am thrilled to be here. I know that a slew of you have traveled far to be here, and so I appreciate the gift to have part of your time. I also want to say to all the people up front that in between speakers, those folks in the back rows have been refilling their coffee cups. And I've done this before too. You are stuck up here. I will not judge you. If you do not feel caffeinated enough for the next 40 minutes of speakers, go now. None of these people mind. They're just like feeling comfy because they got the back row. Okay? So it's all good. I've been stuck up front before with 1,000 people and thinking, oh man, I knew there'd be coffee, but I forgot to sit strategically. Okay. I am an addict, in case you haven't noticed. Okay. So, actually I'd like to know that. How many of you are from the Madison area? Show of hands. Okay, that's small. Yay. This is really cool. Okay. As Anne was telling you, my name is Becky Schigiel. I am the Executive Director of the Interfaith Coalition for Worker Justice of South Central Wisconsin. First of all, I want to say that I really don't understand why our name is that long. There is no Interfaith Coalition of North Wisconsin or West Wisconsin, so we pretty much just call ourselves ICWJ, but we would like to have interfaith coalitions all over the state. So, we can help with that. As Anne said, ICWJ started as a committee of clergy and labor and community folks 17 years ago as a committee. We are part of a national network that also started as a committee in Chicago. I think that's important to hold on to in the work that you do and that I'm going to talk about. We're now an organization. There are some, I have a bunch of these, and there are some of these out at your registration table as well, if you want to catch up with us in paper form. We have congregations of just about every faith, long list of labor unions, other community organizations, and just individuals who are really committed to worker justice, to economic justice. I'm here to talk to you for the next 20 minutes or so. I've been asked to talk about kind of three things. What we've done with our coalition, some of my thoughts about why it's important that we work together, and some ideas about how we do these partnerships. Anne McNary herself is leading one of your breakouts about how to do these partnerships. So if this gets exciting and interesting and you want to get in a smaller group and talk that through more with her, that's one of the options. A little bit about me. Anne was talking about me just a little bit. Actually, first of all, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Any Southerners here? Yeah? Okay. Midwest solidarity. So I'm actually having a little trouble with that, with the name of my city, because when I grew up, it was Louisville. See, I can't do it anymore. I moved away, and people didn't know what I was talking about, so I learned to say Louisville. And now people in Wisconsin, I've been here about 10 years, are laughing at me, and I'm trying to fix it back. So I've got this really bad hybrid. I came out this, I was a social worker for a long time. And then I got introduced to the world of worker rights. And as Phil was talking about, I got introduced to this idea about collective bargaining and organizing and unions, and that being where it's at. And so that's where I've been. I worked for several years, as Ann was talking about, with the Interfaith Coalition for Worker Justice. I stepped out, worked actually within congregations for a bit, and I am excited and thrilled to be back and to be here again. The last time I spoke to this group, we were in the Wisconsin Dells. I don't know if anybody was here. That was a couple of years ago at that one, at that conference just like this. And we were talking just a lot about aligning with the faith community. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and then I want to broaden it this time today. First of all, ICWJ. So we started as a committee. We held some shared breakfasts, and talking about the first person, she was here. And then we joined with several groups and the Latino community, actually in Madison, to research what was happening for Latino workers. We started a Workers' Rights Center for 10 years. 10 years ago, that's still going. We've supported workers who successfully joined unions. We've been with the Fight for 15 workers. We fought to keep our living wage ordinances, and won. We rallied the clergy and congregations tremendously against the uprising in 2011, and that is what Ann was talking about. We offer resources to clergy and congregations put together by their own faiths about what their faiths actually already have to say about workers. We put out a dining guide to restaurants. Does anybody mention that to you while you're at this conference?
Right for diet.
No. So I don't have facts to give you right now, but there's an app. Don't look for it now, or do it while I'm not looking, but it's both on Android and iPhone. There's an app called Just Dining, and that'll give you some idea of the work we've been doing with restaurant workers. We were educating both customers and the restaurant workers about how things are at restaurants around town with regard to benefits and pay. And we've been lifting up those who do offer higher pay and benefits. So this year, we're going to do something like that with grocery stores, and I'm really excited about that. Okay, so why do we do this like this? Why do we work together? Here's the most important thing I have to say before you really start to drift, or before I start to drift, whichever one happens first. Recently, I was there while a friend was talking about some worker issues. And he started to say at one moment, at one point, these things are very important to all union members. And then he stopped himself. He said, well, okay, actually these things are all really important to all workers. You know what? Actually these things are important to all humans. And so that's the most important point this morning. And what I believe is that our society is made up of people who see that each and every one of us is a whole human of equal worth. Then there's people who don't care to see that. And then there's most of us, those of us who know that and sometimes have to be reminded to look again. I think that's where most folks are. And one way to separate people, and Phil was talking about this a little bit, one way to separate people is to act as if we're a bunch of groups that do not overlap, to separate groups when possible, and then to speak of them as fully separate, even if they aren't already. We know that workers are workers. We are immigrants, and we are illegal, and we are fast food workers, and we are teachers. Now you know this, right? because this is what unions are all about, bringing the community together. So what about faith in the middle of that? If you don't mind, how many of you think of yourself as having a religion? Those in the front can't see. It's most of you. Okay? How many of you belong to some kind of congregation? Yeah, that's more than half again. It has been pointed out, and I think this is a real game changer way to think of this, if you don't already. I was reading it written this way, and it really hit me. People like to say faith, congregations, and workers, but there are more differences among people of different faiths and differences between people who are, say, in the same faith but at a different level economically than there are between workers who are religious and workers who are not. Make sense? And then you do overlap. There's you who are both. One of the most profound moments that I got to have early on working with ICWJ was when I held a breakfast to get together some striking workers and some clergy. And I just took whatever clergy were available at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Then we were not matching up by faith. But one of the workers was a young man, and he ended up in this very long conversation. And he'd been raised Catholic, but wasn't at all involved in the church. And he was talking to, I think, a United Church of Christ minister for a very long time. And he told me afterwards, and the whole point of getting them together, honestly, was just to get the clergy to see the workers and see what they were going through. I didn't think it would necessarily do anything for the workers. I was new to this. And this young man told me that, I every day drive by, a Catholic church. I'm not becoming Catholic, he was Catholic. But I drive by this church that's supposed to be like mine, and I see it. But I'm busy doing my life, and I don't think it has anything to do with my life. But I was just talking to this minister, and he's talking about why he cares about workers and what his faith has to do with my life. And I'm thinking, wow, they're connected. And so that was really profound for me. And that opens up what we can be doing. In general, faith groups, community groups, unions, especially you in the community services part of your unions, we're all working on the same issues. I understand that community services, and particularly, you've got 3 priorities: education, health, and it says in your literature, raising incomes. I think that's important. Faith groups are really working on the same thing, okay? But too often, religions and community organizations have turned that last one, raising incomes, into helping poor people. It's not exactly the same thing, right? Okay, so we'll talk more about that. But think for a moment, who might have benefited from that switch in language? These things don't just happen. We started together. So let's talk about why we work together. Well, first of all, we started together. We forget this, Religious people forget this. If you think about the oldest stories in and out of Scripture, of Jewish, Catholic, Christian, Muslim traditions at least, and more, they're not always about exciting things, right? Like those of you who have actually read or gone through, I've got some nods. Okay, sometimes it's about who went to war with who and some family drama. But a lot of those old stories are about daily life, right? They are about who worked for who, what was traded for what, who paid what for what. We have this button in our office walls. It's a button that says Jesus was a carpenter. You guys may have heard that phrase. Actually, I find it interesting when I've heard a minister talk about this recently, turning that on its head, that actually if you were really translating that word from its original Greek or whatever, that for carpenter, what you'd get, do you know this one? It's not carpenter, it's construction worker. And if you really want to be precise, it would probably be more like day laborer. And that's important. Think about it, if you turn that, because carpenters are important, yes, but really if you also think about that. Jesus as a construction worker, Jesus as a day laborer. What does that do? And so those are in those stories. Moses. The story of Moses. Moses was what when it came down to it? What was his lifelong vocation? Anybody?
Shepherd.
Shepherd? Anybody else? Like shepherding people where they need to go. I take it one further. Moses was an organizer. Right? Oppressed workers, bargaining to get them more, talking to them, talking about what's going on, and getting to a point of rising up together and looking for more. Yeah? And even more so, if you go all the way to the ends of the books of Moses, you've got this point where Moses did not even get to go further himself. He's doing this for the good of the community and for generations to come, right? A lot of this, you folks we're not all in this for ourselves. Generations to come. We have this in common between labor and faith. So Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, all of them are held up in our scriptures for caring about the lives of working people. And for most of history, all the way up even to this country 100 years ago, organized labor and religious people have been in this together. We have been the same people. We have been the ones welcoming, migrating people into our groups. We won together the end of child labor, the beginning of decent work days. You look at the Catholic worker movement, the sanitation workers with the Reverend Dr. King, the California farm workers, there was a ministry there. The values were the same for the unions and for the faith groups: hard work, family, creativity, producing something for the community, the right to be together and organized. But something happened in the 1900s. And Dr. Armando Ibarra, is going to do more about this on one of your breakouts. So if this is your thing, history, go there. Religion got associated with being over there on the weekend or up there, maybe, but not right here. Right? This is something to disconnect. Do your religion on this weekend, maybe, but not right here today. Same thing with your work. But people aren't like that, right? But faith values became shortened out of this idea of work and fair pay, and came down to kindness and generosity. Which means we're missing part of the story, right? So many congregations now collect money, food, clothes for someone else. What I want us to question, what we question at ICWJ, is how did we decide that people at a church or a synagogue are a different set of people from those who work? Because we're not. Just checking in on my time. So how do we do this work of being partners? There's one part of your community service that I think is really important that I didn't mention. You're also part with United Way of responding to natural disasters, yeah? How many of you, this has been part of your work in your community service group, preparing for or being there in the case of a disaster? Okay, so just a few of you, but this is part of the AFL-CIO Community Services. Here's a question. In your community, there's a fire, a tornado, or a flood. Tell me, to get the most done, to best set yourself up to rebuild, when do you start working with partners on that, like a church or a neighborhood center? There's a natural disaster. When do you start working together?
Immediately.
What?
Before.
Before. And I went to a conference like this and got to sit in a workshop with some national folks in church response, what you're talking about, being responding to crisis in a community. And they were really emphasizing about this before, and they were also inviting us to not just being a natural disaster, but crises in a community can be like when something just really goes wrong, when someone is killed, when there are disputes between parts of the community. And we can do those better if we've been partners before as well. And here's a way that I've started thinking about this. I failed my permit test the first time when I wanted to get a driver's license when I was 16, decades ago. I will remember forever like the 4 questions I got wrong. I was so humiliated. And one of them, I didn't make this up, one of them was that question, that says you're going into a curve, like on an interstate ramp. When should your speed be at its lowest? Before, during, or as you exit the ramp? And the answer is, as you go into it, right? So that's a good way that I hold on to that and talk to people about that. All right. The other thing, too, is, Phil was talking about, and unions are great about talking about, we got to mobilize, we got to get people there, we've got to show up. What gets you to places? What gets you to try a new restaurant, go to a new meeting, go to a new church, go to a party? What gets you to go places?
Word of mouth.
Yeah, and is that word of mouth, though, that this is great, just general, this is important to you? It's the person who told you. It's whose mouth that comes out, right? Because that person is somebody you know. And so that's also a part of the before, if you want to mobilize people. People have to know you. Okay, so the term the folks are using on the faith side, because they're also talking about this, is deep solidarity. And you guys know solidarity, right? Showing up and being together. When they talk about deep solidarity, we're saying it's the things that unions really do well. To get to know each other, to have gatherings, to have food together. And most importantly, to be different. Right? This is a hallmark of a real working union, is that people can be doing all kinds of jobs, right? Have all kinds of backgrounds. Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter which job you have, we are in this together. Right? That kind of solidarity can be done from people across different faiths, people, different beliefs, different backgrounds outside of the union, and we need to do it. In other words, yes, organize. Just like you do in your unions, or unions, organize around them. So walk with each other so that when you need it, you're in us already. That's what's important. So quick tips on that. Start with who you already are. The whole point of having community services as part of the AFL-CIO is that unions recognize that thing about we are whole humans. That means you are not just what you produce at work, right? We are not. We are people with whole lives, and if we take care of our whole lives and our whole community, that's important, right? So start with all of who you are. Train your workers. When you're training workers to organize, you're not preaching to people, but find out who in your union is affiliated, right, with a faith, and help them connect to resources like us, so they know how to talk about their daily work lives when they're talking to people at their congregation. Offer to speak at a congregation. Now, I get asked to speak at congregations about worker justice, but just like you might be struggling how to connect with people in your community that you don't already know, churches, synagogues, mosques, they are in the same place, I promise you. And they are thrilled to have a worker speak. Speak at your own congregation. We do something at ICWJ called Labor in the Pulpit. And all that is sometime in the fall, well, it's really labeled in the pulpit, on the bima, in the minbar. Right? All faiths. But it's just speaking in your own congregation or bringing in someone else. Or offering to speak in another one. Use me as a resource. Oh, Anne mentioned we have the best URL ever, the Worker Justice. So we're at www.workerjustice.org. She's not kidding. That is in my back pocket. If we fall apart financially, that's worth something. I can sell that URL. So I'm going to hold on to it as long as I can. But I'm Becky at workerjustice.org. B-E-C-K-Y. Contact me. We are in South Central Wisconsin, but we've got faith contacts all over the state. Okay. Awesome. One last thing. When you do this thing of partnering, and again, I've been working with congregations over the last few years. So this isn't saying anything just about unions. We're all struggling with this. Because of this false separation between folks, I'm not saying there aren't divisions, because there are. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that don't exist. And by the way, deep solidarity, the idea, again, remember, people are different and there are differences, and you've got to learn about each other and honor those differences. You don't have to be the same, right? But that doesn't mean we're not connected. You find out how you are. Again, that's organizing, right? Okay. So one of the things that we fall prey to is that the way we connect is that kindness, generosity thing. It's helping somebody else. That's not solidarity, right? That's not all of solidarity. That's one piece. Right? Like when you pass the basket for people on strike that are not you. Okay, that's a piece. The community services work you do. But if you're only helping other people, there's still a space between you and them. Okay, so now faith groups have gotten, okay, we need to advocate for people. That was the word for a long time, right? And that's still better. Get out there and speak out. Stand up for these other folks, right? But there's more. It's doing something with other people. And sometimes that is doing something with them that they need. But gosh, try to find what you can do with people that is not for them only. You know? And if you've got folks, Phil was talking about the polarization that you just do not agree with, do not get along with in your community. But you're like, oh, Becky said get a partnership before things we need them. Find anything that you can do with that group of people. Build a garden. Anything. Start there, right? Makes sense. And so as part of that, I just want to say something. Again, remember, I was a social worker. Social work has really been, in the same light, hampered for a long time by this idea that we need to help people out. You know, like one of the worst things that we do is somebody who can't pay their rent, help them budget. There's not enough money, you know? So it's that idea of realizing that that person might just need money, might not need you to teach them anything. So sometimes we get stuck in that when we're with groups of people. You might have a group in your town or your neighborhood or the neighborhood across town that just needs a place to meet. It's not that they don't know what they're doing about organizing themselves, maybe. Ask, find out, right? Ask first. But maybe they just need a place to meet. Maybe they do need some funding. Right? So this is one of the things churches are struggling with also. So the idea is just because folks need help, whether it's a person, a family, or a group of people, does not mean they don't already have great stuff going on. Show up and ask questions first, right? Does that make sense? And that is not something we've been hearing for a long time, whether it's in social work or in congregations, and maybe not in community service. If that makes sense. So that's what I want to leave you with, this idea that do it now, that faith groups, we are in this with you, that we can make these connections, that we need to get to know each other, we need to be in real walking with each other. We need to honor our strengths, but break down any of the walls that we possibly can in order to achieve what we want to achieve. And with that, I thank you for having me here today.